wanted to talk about my experience as a trans person because I don't think that I talk about my transness all that often. It tends to be in my bio. Like on Instagram, it says that I'm queer. On TikTok, I think it's simply I have a rainbow flag, which is awfully broad. If a trans flag were offered by the emojis, like the emojis are missing a lot of flags. There's no bi flag. I don't expect there to be a pan flag. I would love it, but no. I didn't even know there was a pansexual flag for quite a long time. I thought I had to just make do with the bisexual flag. But yeah, it seems like a real oversight that there isn't a transgender flag emoji yet. But yeah, there's the rainbow flag. So I definitely in other places have described myself as pansexual genderqueer. I believe that that's on my Facebook bio. So pansexual, it's under the bisexual umbrella. There's a lot of overlap with bisexuality. And it's basically just attraction to all genders. Some people go further and say that pansexual is attraction to all genders and no preference either. In many, perhaps most cases, people who are bisexual are attracted to more than two genders. They are attracted to transgender people. But I feel like pansexual just very clearly is like, hey, everybody, want you to know trans people are hot, as well as cisgender people, as well as all people. I'm going to try not to go down that rabbit hole because there's a lot of debates in the pan versus bi community. So I'd rather not go too deep into that. But that's sexual orientation, and sexual orientation is different from gender identity. Gender identity, I've heard it said that sexual orientation is who you go to bed with, and gender identity is who you go to bed as. I started identifying as genderqueer a few years ago now. As far as when I came out, I've sort of been questioning my gender since, I want to say as early as 2001, because I remember keeping a second blog as a male. It started out that one of my friends, well, there's a whole story behind why I started the blog, but I'd rather not go into it because it's a long story, and I also don't have my friend's permission to share her side of the story. But it was basically me keeping a blog as a male version of myself. And I found that I actually had a lot to say. And that was kind of one of my first hints. And then when I started to do drag, I have a drag king persona, Rick Sinner. And a lot of people who do drag, they're not doing it because it's a part of their gender identity. It's just a performance. It's just being an actor. But there are some people who do drag and it is part of their gender identity. It turns out that they realize that they're trans, and that's cool. I found that I didn't want to transition. I was assigned female at birth, and I haven't wanted to transition to male. But there is more than one way to be trans, and that's why there's this whole non-binary umbrella, sometimes affectionately referred to as NB, and not spelled with the letters NB, although that's kind of where it came from, but it's ENBIE, which I just think is adorable. I love being under the NB umbrella. NB umbrella. Anyway, sorry, that just sounded kind of funny to me. But genderqueer specifically, I picked it at first because it's vague and because I was still figuring out and questioning my gender identity. I knew that I didn't feel cisgender. I knew that I didn't feel entirely female. And I also didn't feel entirely male. And I felt in between, and I still do. But while genderqueer was kind of a placeholder term for me, because I was trying to come up with something more definitive, now I feel that it is definitive for me. Genderqueer is who I am. I've never changed my pronouns. I still go by she, her. That may change one day, but for now, that's what feels right. I haven't selected a new name for myself. I still go by Kate Crust, or sorry, that's my other username. I go by Esther. Kate, I don't know, Kate's a nickname I went by in high school, and I am, as I mentioned, I am very tired. But if you notice, a lot of times my username across like Instagram and TikTok, um, and Twitch to a lesser extent, my username is The Device Book, and it comes down to the first book that I wrote, and that there's no gender to that. That being an author of a book means that my username doesn't have a gender, and I like that. I don't really want to have a gendered username. And I do also identify as a genderqueer femme, so I think I probably not androgynous. I'm not like straight down the middle, 50% male, 50% female. I'm a little bit more on the femme side of things, but I'm just not 100% there. Um, and I'm not 90% either. I don't know what my percentages are, but I know that it doesn't feel right to think of myself as cisgender.